even know. Affirmative, we have sound. Okay, you can also see that my green screen is working really well right now because, well, first of all, let's fix that a little. Okay, so my green screen is working really well right now because the green here, oh no, wait, hold on. This is showing a pink thing in the background. You can see a little bit of pink back there. This guy is pink over here because there's a little pink box behind me. So yeah, so that's a thing that exists. So I have to workshop that a little bit. So that's super fun. Welcome to episode 26 of the Stop Shooting All Over Yourself podcast. Can you believe that we have hit episode 26 already? Like, that is so crazy. Hi, Paula. Good to see you. I'm back from the, oh my God, my heavens. The the Boutique Hub Summit. And it was amazing. I had such a good time. Met so many amazing people. Got so many good questions. Like, I felt like and I'll talk about this when I do the podcast part of it, but I honestly felt like I learned as much as I taught. Oh, there it is. Look at that, the little chat box. I gotta make that little chat box a little better. There we go. Hi. It's so interesting how there we go. That's gonna be a little better. We're workshopping this. I feel like it's getting there. It's getting there. I've got a little bit more space, a little bit more breathing room here. But yeah, so we are not going to have the S&M show today. Just as a reminder to all you guys, no S&M show today. The sire had a family emergency. Everybody's okay, but she's not going to be able to attend, which is, that's sort of how it is with, with business owners and with life, is that you've got to do what you can when you can. So today's episode of Stop Shooting All Over Yourself is all about the summit. Well, not really this particular, I mean, it is about this particular summit and the things that I learned, because, dude, I learned some amazing stuff that is like, has applications across the board for so many different business owners. I felt like, I made a lot of notes, so I have all my notes here, but as I was going through the summit, I thought to myself, first of all, it's been a really long time since I've been out in public surrounded by this many people. So I was actually quite surprised to find that I had more anxiety than I have had historically. And I think that, like, when I think back to like how I was feeling very awkward. Like, I felt very, very awkward, more awkward than I have felt, in the past at summits. I also felt, and it wasn't anybody's fault as much as I personally inside, I'm just working through my own stuff, right? It was also tough to go without my sister or without Jenna or without somebody that, like, is like kind of like your summit buddy, like the person that you go with. You're like, I'm going to be stuck to you like glue the entire time. Hi, Cindy. Good to see you, dude. It's tough to, I think, for me to be in events like that where I don't have someone near me. And especially because it was for 2 whole days. Like, it wasn't just like a short, 1 hour, 2 hour thing. So I was surprised about that. The other thing that I was very surprised to find is, this is crazy, because a lot of you saw me speak at LuLaRoe, is I've been speaking for years now, right? Years now. I used to have really, really, really bad social anxiety, and I still do. But, and speaking anxiety as well. But I overcame my speaking anxiety to the point where I really just wasn't anxious about it. Social anxiety I kept. Speaking anxiety, I outgrew it. I practiced enough. I don't know. Well, when I was get up on stage, oh my God, I had a microphone in my hand, and my hand was like doing this thing. And I'm like, what is this happening with my hand right now? Like, I am nervous. Like, stop doing that. I walked up on stage a little early, but it was still really, really fun. I had a great time, but I was surprised to find that I had stage fright, and I haven't had stage fright in years. Over a decade at least. And, but it was really funny because when I came, I reflected upon it with Alex, and it's, after not having done this for no worries, Christy, the text went out though, right? I'm assuming the text went out. Otherwise I assume you would have told me if the text didn't. So it was interesting to find that after a few years of not doing any of these things, that I had to sort of get back. I was a little rusty. I had to get back on the bike and sort of just like, oil the wheels. And I think that for many of us as business owners, we tend to feel like like we're adults. So we feel like we should know some of these things already, whatever these things are, right? Whatever some things are that you tell yourself, man, I feel like I should know this already. Hi, Dawn. Good to see you, dude. We all have those. And you know what those are for you. And even if right now something doesn't come to mind, I want you to at least have this in your mind so that next time it happens, you have this thought, right? Is that even if you were really, really good at something when you were younger, or even, hey, up until like 2 years ago, if you haven't done it in 2 years, you're going to be rusty, and it's going to take time to kind of get back into the groove. Now, what's interesting is when I started consulting for the BI again, I knew that, right? And I was like, yep, it's going to take me a while to get back into the groove. And, I slipped right in, but it did take a while for me to kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I remember this. Oh yeah, there's that thing that I remember, that kind of thing. But I mean, I used to be really, really, really good at this job and could do all this stuff, like that. Still good at it, but I can't do it like that anymore because I haven't done it in several years. I want to just offer you the hi, hey Deb, so good to see you. I want to offer you that thought, right? That don't hold yourself to the standard of the you from 2 to 3 years ago when you had already been doing whatever it is, like constantly every day, right? So if you're riding a bike every single day, then you're going to get good at riding a bike. If you don't ride a bike for 2 years, then it's going to take you a while to get comfortable with riding a bike again when you get back on the bike. Same thing is true for everything else in your business. So if there are things that you've let languish in your business, so for example, let's say you were really, really sick for a while and you didn't post on social media, and now you get ready to post on social media and you're getting started and you feel rusty. You feel like it's harder than it was before. And you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this. It's so difficult. The thing to keep in mind in that moment is that I am just now getting back on the bike. It's going to take a couple of tries. So my first few posts are going to be a little clunky. By the time I get to my 10th or 15th post, I'll be back on, it'll be fine. It's just a matter of really just blowing out the cobwebs, dusting things off and that kind of thing. So that was what was very, very interesting for me being there, in that like I hadn't anticipated any of those things. So when they happened, I was surprised and I was just like, oh, this is an interesting feeling. And I was like, all right, well, let's just sort of figure this feeling out. Fortunately, it was such a wonderful space. Everybody was so friendly, so nice. It was so educational. I'm going to tell you all about like the things that I learned. Like I learned some really specific lessons that I want to share with you that impacted me profoundly at the Hub Summit. And at the same time, I want to share my thoughts about how you can use summits or these kinds of events to further your own business and your career. So we'll just hit the recording part. Now, one thing. For those of you who've not been here before, which I'm pretty sure all of you have, but those of you that have not been here before, this is a live recording of the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. While I'm recording, I am not on screen and I don't see you. Well, I'm on screen, but I don't see you guys or your comments. But you can talk amongst yourselves, answer questions, talk to each other, whatever, and then I'm going to come back and look at the conversation, and then we will have more of a conversation. I totally need to remember this. The you from years past is not the you. Exactly. It's not fully the you that's today. And you're good at other things today, right? So like I am like, okay, sure, I was anxious getting on stage, but I still feel like I've come a really long way in general. And I'm happy where I am right now. Like I don't want to be that person I was before, but I would like to have that skill set back, right? So I'm like, oh, I don't want to be older Manessa, but I do want that skill set back, right? So I'm going to continue to be Manessa 5.0 or whatever I am now. But I'm going to workshop that skill set so that now it's a part of this person, right? Because I forgot. So there's so many things that I've had. And think about this. Over your lifetime, you've learned many, many skills. I guarantee you're probably not practicing all of them. And some of them you probably really enjoy doing. Like, let's say you were a cross-stitcher and you stopped. And you were a really good cross-stitcher. And you love doing it, but you just stopped, right? And now suddenly you're like, oh yeah, I was really good at cross-stitching. I would like to do that again. And you pick up cross-stitching and you're like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. I don't like it, blah, blah. Then after like, 3 weeks, you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally enjoying this again, right? I'm back into it. It takes a while to get back into the groove. And give yourself the opportunity to get better at something again because you loved it once. Now, you may not love it again. Like you may actually incorporate it back into your life and be like, ooh, I don't think this is right for me, right? Like cross-stitching I did for a long time again. And then I realized I just wasn't enjoying it as much. It was hurting my eyes. It wasn't pleasant. And so I started drawing instead. And I'm really actually enjoying that a lot more, right? That's okay. It's okay to change, but it's important to just remember that just because we're in a moment right now where we feel like we have all of our tools, sometimes you may have all your tools, but you may forget that you have them. And then you don't remember to go back to them. Hi, hey, dude. Okay, so we're going to record. Stop shitting all over yourself. Okay. And here we go. I'm so dry. Oh my God. It's the traveling. Last night I was just so dry. It was ridiculous. Sorry. Do I have my Kleenex? Why do I never have my Kleenex? Especially when I get the Kleenex. Oh, shit. There it is. Okay. Alrighty. Getting everything ready. I know everybody's delighted with getting me ready. Okay, here we go. Hello, and welcome to episode 26 of the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. I cannot believe we've already made it to episode 26. I honestly feel like it was just yesterday that we started. My name is Vanessa Konecki, and I am a business strategist with 25 years of experience working with business owners from one-man shows to multi-million-dollar businesses, helping them to create strong businesses that will last a lifetime. And over the years, I've learned a few fundamental truths about how to make money, feel successful, and enjoy your life. Back in the day, I used to be like the queen of hustling. I was like, oh, do all the things, and how can you fit more work into the day? And it was really important to me. Like, if you had even a moment, you had to fit more and more work into it. And I was always giving myself a hard time about the moments that I wasn't working. Even if I had worked an entire day, the brief moment that I didn't work was like, I did something terrible. And it was because I always felt like there was something else to do. There was just so much to do that if I didn't keep working, I was just going to get buried under the task list, right? And now the problem also was that I believed in the stories about the things that I needed to do to make money that people told me. But these were people who had no idea what it was like to live my life or be in my shoes. And their ideas, not only did they not work all the time, they was also trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, drove me into a deep, deep depression and illness, and finally my breaking point. The Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast is a retrospective journey through these years and these stories that you've also heard. And no doubt you were already feeling the pressure and the weight of those expectations. Join me today as we revisit some of the antiquated ideas that have no place in our lives anymore and discard them from your business without fear of judgment, without shame, and with the confidence that's going to make you a lot more money. Today, we're going to talk about summits and convention events and going to those and the benefit of going to those and how those help you, and whether it really is like a killer for your business if you don't go. For a lot of business owners, going to conventions or events is prohibitive. It's terrifying. If you have social anxiety, or if financially your business is not doing super well, it could be one of those things where you feel like if you don't do it, then you might be missing out on a huge potential to improve your business. But if you do it, you're going to be anxious the whole time and then be worried about money and so on and so forth. So a lot of us can find ourselves stuck in this like catch-22 situation where we don't necessarily know what we need to do or what we should be doing. The first thing that I want to recommend as we think about going to these kinds of events is that you don't want to go into debt to go into any of these events. So I'm just going to start off the bat is that you don't need to go into debt to go to any convention or event. If somebody tells you need to just put on a credit card because you don't have enough money, I don't advise that. I actually think that's really bad advice. At this stage of the game, you will always pay more to go to an event because you've got the hotel and you've got the airfare and things like that than you will to do, say, a virtual ticket or something like that. And the fact that we have virtual tickets these days makes life a lot easier so that you can usually budget in a virtual ticket, whereas a in-person ticket might be prohibitive. However, that said, if you are able to go to an event in person, I strongly recommend it. The thing about these in-person events is, as somebody with social anxiety, I am constantly feeling anxious about going to these places. So for me, this is not something that I do and I'm like, oh, this is so much fun, I'm going to be surrounded by people. It's me knowing that I'm going to struggle because I have a mental illness that makes it difficult for me to be in spaces with a lot of people. I also feel like when I was younger, I felt like there was a point at which I was excited, but there was also a point where I like kind of feel like, oh, I know this, or I've already seen this, or I've already done this. I've definitely had those phases in my life where I've gone into classes or courses and been like, oh my God, I've already seen this, or oh my God, I've already done this, or oh, I'm not going to get any value out of it. And the truth is, anytime I ever said I wasn't going to get value out of something, I didn't, because I had already decided that I wasn't going to get value out of it. So for me, the very first thing about going to these kinds of events was I needed to be open. I needed to be open to the idea that I could have fun at these events. I needed to be open to the idea that I would learn something. I needed to be open to the idea that it would help me. I just needed to make sure that I was going in open with no preconceived notions of disappointment before I even got there, right? So that's the number one thing, is always going with an open heart, open mind, expecting that you're going to get something out of it, right? And you may not get what you think, okay? So that's the important thing to keep in mind, is you may not always get what you think. Many of you have heard the story where I had a course that I bought from a coach of mine, and the content of the course, like when she sold the course, like her sales page was amazing, her videos were amazing, everything was great, right? I got the course, I downloaded it, and I read it, and I was like, I know all these things, right? But she actually started the course with something very interesting. She started it by saying, listen, even if you feel like you know everything in this course, ask yourself the question, how can I make this work for me? And my first thought was, well, that's usually what somebody says when they don't think you're going to learn anything in the course. So I was like, okay, well, that's worrisome. But when I looked at the course, actually, it was a really, really good course. Like, it was amazing. And if I had not already known these things, I would have needed to know those things. So those are really critical education tools for business owners. And the only reason I knew these things was because I'd already been running a business for, helping people run financial businesses for many years. But I took what she said to heart, and I was like, okay, how can I make this work for me? And when I reviewed everything, the curriculum and all the stuff, what I noticed was that her sales page, so even though I knew this stuff, her sales page was so good that I bought it anyway. It was the way she sold it to me that was amazing. And also the question itself, how can I make this work for me? That tool was also life-changing. And honestly, both of those things together were worth all the money that I paid, because I've been able to make more money back and then some by changing the way I write my sales pages, changing the way I talk to my audience, changing some things that I learned from her. And then also by asking this question, how can I make this work for me? So whenever I go to these events now, I go in with this idea of how am I going to make this work for me, no matter what it is. So you're going in with this, I'm just basically giving the event a really, really big hug. So this was my first event in years, right? So I had my open mind, I had my open soul, because I've already done all those things. I remember the first time I did that exercise and it worked amazingly. So I went in and I was so excited to be there. I had a wonderful time. I knew that I was going to meet a lot of amazing people. That I knew. What I did not know was that I was going to meet some people who from Comments Sold in Vajro who were like, so the people from Vajro are actually from India. And so we spent a lot of time talking, and it was so much fun. And we're like, you know what, we should really talk and partner up. And then Comments Sold, they reached out to me and were like, let's talk, let's partner up. I'm like, yes, I love this. I've been wanting to work with you guys for ages. So I had networking opportunities, business opportunities that I didn't even expect. Then there were two keynote speakers that we're going to talk about today who I want to share what I learned from them, because it was absolutely incredible. But I got to meet the Boutique Hub organizers. These are people in my community that I see online all the time, but I was not able to see in person. Now, I'll be really honest. I felt really socially awkward. I really felt awkward the whole time. I kept thinking, my God, Vanessa, you sound like an idiot. But then I would have my nice voice would be like, no, you didn't. It's fine. You're just anxious. This is your first time being out after a long time. And I was very kind to myself, but my gut instinct was like, oh my God, I just said something stupid. Like, just constantly. It was constantly, but it was fine because I had my tools, and my tools just got me right out of there and be like, nope, that's fine. None of us have been out in 2 years. We're all trying to figure it out, and everybody's feeling awkward, right? So how did I get the most out of this event? And I'm going to tell you at the beginning how I got the most I could out of the event. And at the very end, I'm going to tell you where my missed opportunities were. So you can see that there's a step after the event that you want to consider for how you might be able to get most out of the event next time, right? Whatever event those are, right? So the first thing is first know which events you want to go to, right? So look at the year, look at what you're planning for, and make a decision about which events you actually want to go to. You may want to go to one or two. I usually go to one. I haven't been to one in a couple of years, and I really, really missed it. But make sure that it's an event that you want to go to and that you're interested in. So the Social Media Examiner is having their annual summit next year in March, and I realized that I don't work in that way anymore. So though I love Social Media Examiner, I don't necessarily think it's actually a good fit for me. I don't know that I want to go there. I think I want to go to other summits next year, and that's just not going to be the one. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. So I'm not going to go to that summit, whereas I may have gone to that summit the prior year or the year before. Know where you want to go. And then plan ahead, right? So when you plan ahead and you're thinking about that, do you need a friend to go with you, right? I discovered this time that I operate much better when I have a friend to go with me. Otherwise, I'm just really, really nervous and really, really anxious. I need somebody to go with me. I didn't know that about myself before. So that was something that was really, really interesting. Make a list of 3 people that you want to meet in advance, right? So I knew who I wanted to meet while I was there, because I was like, okay, I want to connect with the Comments Sold people because I knew they were going to be there. I wanted to connect with Sarah, right? Because obviously I knew she was going to be there. And I wanted to meet Ashley face-to-face, right? Because I've never met her face-to-face. I wanted to meet Ashley face-to-face. Not only did I get to meet them, but I got to meet a whole bunch of other people at the hub that allowed me to build a deeper sense of community with them, right? Which is something that is hard to do online. It can be done, but it takes some time. Plan ahead for your anxiety levels. Do you need drugs? Do you need, what kind of medications do you need? Do you need to know where the bathrooms are, right? Plan for where the bathrooms are. Get a hotel nearby, or if at all, stay in the hotel that it's at so you can go up and down back to your room as needed. I got overstimulated on day 1 at like 2:00 after my training. So I actually went to the car and I went to sleep for 20 minutes because I needed to decompress. Like, know that you can decompress. Knowing that you are not a prisoner at these events is really helpful. I think for a lot of us, we feel like once we go into these events, we need to be there all the time and do all the things and be at all the spaces and see all the stuff. That's really not the case. The truth is you're just going to overstimulate yourself and you're not going to be able to absorb all of that. So plan in advance the things that are important to you so that you know what you want to actually do, and then what things are nice to have but not necessary. Okay. And don't put pressure on yourself to stay longer than you need to. I basically came in and out as necessary. But even though I came in and out as necessary, I was able to get so much out of this experience that I don't feel like I missed anything by not being around for like half the second day, and for like an hour or so in the first day. Here's what I got. Now, the things that I got out of this training are so important psychologically that I want to share them with you. So the first thing that I got came out of Ashley Alderson's her keynote speech when she opened up the day. She gave out this blueprint, this foundational blueprint for your business. And it was a beautiful thing. It was just boxed with a bunch of squares on it, fairly straightforward, just boxed with a bunch of squares. And she was talking about how important it is that social media is like, it is a very small part of your business, but the foundation that you build under your business is hypercritical. And she talked all about how doing the unsexy stuff in your business is what actually grows it. It is not the sexy things. The sexy things come later. The social media posts, the emails, the graphics, all those fun things that we do later on. That is like way later on, after you've already figured out your foundation. Who is your target audience? Can you get them from point A, hi, I'm a stranger, to checking out without any issues? Do you have the infrastructure to support your business? That is such a critical element, because so many of the people that I work with have very, very big goals in terms of finances. Like, I want to make, $10,000. I want to make $100,000. I want to make $1 million, like whatever your goals are. But have not done the back end planning work to be able to support that goal. So even if they were able to sell $10,000, $20,000, $1 million, their business would collapse under the weight of those orders, right? Because let's say tomorrow, right? Let's say right now you sell, let's say you're only, right, selling 10,000 only, right? And then tomorrow, somehow, your website gets 1 million visitors and people are trying to buy. Your website probably doesn't have enough product to handle that. It will probably crash with that many visitors. You will not be able to fill that many orders. You don't have enough staff to be able to ship it in time. So there's gonna be a lot of people that are waiting. You're going to disappoint a lot of people who are not going to be able to get what they want because you don't have enough inventory, right? You're not going to be able to invoice in enough time. If you invoice automatically, then great, that's not going to be a problem. But there's a lot of things that you're not going to be able to do because you haven't set up the infrastructure for that size of a business. But for many of us, we start with the goal and then we're like, okay, I'm going to run this many events to get that goal. And then we kind of just stay in this space of running events and doing things to hit the goal without coming back here and working on the branding infrastructure, the employee infrastructure, the shipping and administrative, all of the infrastructure that is necessary to support a business of that size. So it was really important because for me, I've been feeling bad. Like, it's taken me 4 years. I've iterated my business many times. And honestly, my business right now I love it. Everything is exactly where I want it to be. I'm so happy in terms of how it is. Everything's great, right? The problem is I feel like, oh my God, I've been redoing it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm spending so much time on the foundation and I just want to just launch already. And, because we're not launching until my birthday on May 31st. And I just want to launch. And I'm like, but her lesson was this. Right now, I am building the infrastructure for my future. I've figured out how to make the money. I'm making the money, right? So obviously I figured that out. What I haven't figured out is how to scale and grow. So until I can build the infrastructure to scale and grow, I figured that out now, but I hadn't then. I just kept banging my head against the wall. So once I figured out the infrastructure for growth, right? Which last year I revamped the squad curriculum, which is now being launched, and then and now I'm putting together my full sales infrastructure with the complete user journey. I wasn't ready, right? I wasn't ready. So it's really important to keep in mind that you can have really, really big goals, but unless you have taken the time to figure out the unsexy infrastructure stuff that you're going to put in place to support those goals, you are going to find that you're going to overwhelm yourself. You're actually not ever going to hit those goals, and you're always going to feel like you're behind, and you're not going to understand why. And what it is because you're lacking the foundational infrastructure to support you in that space. So that was absolutely amazing. Number one lesson that I got was from Ashley Alderson, Foundation for Sales. It really doesn't matter what you do in your business. It all comes down to doing the unsexy stuff first, which was absolutely amazing. So I love that. So as if that wasn't good enough, okay, then Paul Erickson. Okay, Paul Erickson, he gets on stage. He's really funny. He's absolutely funny. He's hysterically funny. He's been in marketing for like years and years. He's from a company called Marketing One. He's like talked about how he'd been in business for 41 years. And I was like, wait, this has been great, right? And I'll be honest, I couldn't actually sit through his entire presentation. I'm going to actually have to listen to it again because it was like so much data and so much information that it was so good that I was like, okay, I got a lot of information. I'm overloaded now. I need a break, but I'm going to watch the rest of it, sitting in my room just taking notes because it was really, really good. But here's what was interesting. He's a numbers guy. Okay, so he's a guy who comes up with all the numbers, shows you graphs, and says this is 25% of this and 30% of this, and 4 things happen there and 5 things happen here. That he's the numbers, right? And in, I don't know, like in a span of an hour, that man dropped so much knowledge. Like I was reminded of what my audience must have felt like when I first started my business, and I was dropping like so much knowledge in so much all at once, because I was like, oh my God, I have to make sure I tell you all the things. But what I learned from his was very interesting. Not only did I learn a lot of numbers that I'm going to now use, because now I know these marketing numbers, like that these are numbers that I've been looking for, but I wasn't sure where to find them. And he had them, and I was like, oh, thank God, now I have these, right? But I actually realized I'm a lot further ahead than I thought I was in terms of the way that I view myself in business, right? So like whenever I think of myself in business, I've always felt like I was a kid playing dress up, right? I was a kid playing dress up who had to justify her seat at the table, because I was teaching things like back in the day when I was teaching hustle. I mean, I still teach hustle proof, but I was teaching hustle proof before people were teaching not to hustle. Like now everybody and their grandmother's talking about be mindful and don't hustle, which is amazing. I don't mean that to sound disparaging at all. I think it's amazing, but everybody else and their grandmother is saying that now. But back in the day, when I was doing that, no one else was. And I doubted myself a lot. Same with Facebook, same with marketing. I was teaching in ways that people were not teaching back in the day. And I doubted myself, and I don't think I ever lost that. I just continued to doubt myself. And over the last and I think I've talked about this a few times in the squad and even in Stop Shitting, is I feel like the moment where we all start to really do well in our businesses is when we start to believe we are who we say we are, right? And I really think of that scene in The Matrix down in the subway station when Morpheus and all them are in the real world watching Neo fight with Mr. Smith, and first he's like getting beaten up, and then suddenly he gets up and he's like dodging all the bullets, and they're all like, oh my God, what's happening? And Morpheus is like, he's starting to believe, right? And I hear that voice in my head every so often where I'm like, you know what, I am starting to believe a little bit. And it made me believe in myself more, and it reminded me to share that with you, that when I talk to my clients and a lot of business owners, they always come to me thinking they don't know anything. Actually, I met with someone this weekend who she was telling me all the things she was doing wrong in her business. And in my mind, I thought, my God, her business is falling apart, right? It's like, is her business going to survive? I don't know, right? And then she tells me, I said, well, how are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm clearing $1 million a year. And I was like, okay. And I was like, so here's the thing. You're doing great. Your perspective is where we need to workshop. You're making plenty of money, but she still didn't feel like she was who she said she was, right? So the issue was not making the money. The issue was feeling confident in the money she was making and really believing that she's Neo, right? Believing that she is who she says she is. So that's another thing that I really just want to share with you, is that believe that you are who you say you are, right? If you say you're a boutique owner, you are a boutique owner. If you say you are a coach, you are a coach. Don't second guess your expertise, right? Because I think a lot of us were like, I'm a boutique owner. But the second I'm like, okay, now that you're a boutique owner, you need to share value and show off your expertise, right? And in that moment, we're like, but I'm not an expert, right? Because suddenly we get cut in our own heads, and we're like, oh my God, I'm not an expert. Oh my God, I'm not all that. Because all of our stories that we tell ourselves from our childhood about being modest and not, being too big for your britches or things like that, those all come back, right? So it is so important that you take the time during your meditation, or even just take a few minutes in the bathtub, right? Or shower, to just acknowledge that you are amazing. You have started a business. you have done a lot. You are who you say you are, right? And the problem is not that you aren't, it's that you don't believe that you aren't. And that's a very big difference, right? That just means that you are, and you just need to believe it, right? The sky is still blue, whether you believe it is or not. You know what I'm saying? Okay, the next person. So now here I am. I know foundation. All right, this is good. I feel good about my foundation. I'm doing the right thing with the squad, building the foundation, building the website, doing the thing. Next up, like I am working on believing myself. So thank you, Paul Erickson. The next person who impacted me deeply was Lori Harder. Okay, God, that woman, I was messaging Katie and Jenna, and I was like, oh my God, I love this woman. She's amazing. Like, I went to follow her. I want to be on her podcast. That is now my, like, I can't even tell you, my number one goal for this year is to get on this woman's podcast, because she was amazing. And like, the thing is that she was sharing a lot of things that I have experienced, but she has clearly done reflection that has given her insight that I didn't have yet, right? And so she gave me such insight into like some of my experiences recently that were like super, super helpful. And one of the most important things that she said was this. And this is going to hold true for you for sure, right? And I just want to check and make sure that we're still recording. Okay, good, we are still recording. Okay. Forgot what I was saying. Okay. Saying for sure. Hold on. I'll get there. Right. Is that in your heart, you know that there's something big. There's something there that you want to do. I know you have that in your heart. And your gut is telling you that there's something big you need to do. And I've had that gut feeling for a while. And she shared the story of how she had a gut feeling for something she needed to do. And she didn't listen to her gut. And she just kept finding excuses and reasons for why she couldn't do whatever the thing was. She wanted to start a fitness business. And she had every excuse in the book. And the way she's so personable, like she tells the greatest story ever about like being totally drunk and picking a fight with her husband. And she's like yelling and screaming, and she calls it her chicken nugget moment. Cause I guess, they've been drinking, and, she's telling this story about how like, she's just like, and we're always moving, and I can't do this and I can't do this. And she's like throwing chicken nuggets in places. Like, it's just super funny, but it's like, at the same time, you're like, I've been there where I'm having like this crying hissy fit. And then, I've been there, right? Where I did not listen to my gut. I wasn't listening to what my soul was telling me that I needed to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. I can feel it, right? And it's taken me 5 years to really get to the space where I'm like just doing the things that I know that I'm moving in the right direction. But I ignored it for so long because of whatever stories that I told myself. There were so many stories, so many excuses, so many reasons, whatever it is. But just forcing myself to do things that were not in alignment with what I wanted for my future made me soul sick. Right? I started to get sick more often. My blood pressure was high. My stomach was always hurting. I was always in pain, just all kinds of things. Right? And it was because my soul was not in alignment. And then what ends up happening is when you are not living the life that and when you're like, I'm too scared to be doing whatever it is that I want to do next, you're not going to take that leap. And then you're going to just stay stuck where you're at. You're going to feel stuck because you're afraid. And then it's going to start to get ooey and gooey and gross inside. And then you're going to lash out and hurt the people that you love, including yourself, right? You're going to end up having moments where you're screaming and yelling or crying on the floor or whatever it is. I've done all those things where you end up lashing out because you don't like your life. You hate your life. You're not happy with what you're doing. You're not making enough money. You're not doing the things that you want to do. This isn't my beautiful life. This is my beautiful house. That whole thing is happening, but you feel trapped and you're blaming everyone else for your problems. We've all been there. So this is not a judgment, but we've all been there. And she reminded me of that, right? She reminded me that I was always telling myself, well, first I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and then I will do whatever the big thing is. Or I'll do this, this, and this, and then I'll do the big thing. Like, there's always a reason why I can't take that next step, always, right? And it's not for me, and it's not for now. It's for later. It's something I'll do later. Like, I was going to get my dream house that you see behind me. I don't know which side it's on, right? The ocean view that you see behind me, that's my ocean view for those of you that are watching us live. That was my dream house, but I didn't think I was going to get that till my 70s or my 80s, right? And what Lori Harder said is, if not now, then when? When will you do that thing, right? So when will I have my final version of the squad? When will I move into my house on the ocean? If not now, then when, right? And instead of just giving these, because a lot of times I would just give myself kicking the can down the road, oh, later, oh, later, oh, later. And I just never gave myself the opportunity to just do the thing now and just see what happened. And what ended up happening is that over the course of the last 2 years at least, I've just been putting one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and just doing the thing. And the things that I thought were not going to happen till I was later on in my life are happening for me now, right? So ask yourself this question. Is the not now because you've decided the not now, right? Because remember how I said earlier that when I go to conventions, when I decide that I'm not going to learn anything or not going to get anything, then I don't, because I've already decided that that's how it's going to be. The same thing is true here. If you decide that this is just for later, then you've already decided you're not going to get it till later, because that's what you've said the truth is. You craft your own reality. So when you say, I'm going to start doing this thing now, and I'm just going to take this one step now, take that one step, and then instead of it becoming a future thing, it can become a now thing. You do not have to wait for the future to be happy, right? Wow. I like to say you do not have to mortgage your present for a happier future, right? You don't have to be miserable now and suffer now for a happier future. You can be happy now and be happy in the future. You can have both. And it's the same thing, right? Don't kick your happiness down the road because you're just like, oh, I'll get it later. When? One day when? Dude, nothing is guaranteed except today. Do the thing now, right? Okay, now I'm going to wrap up with this. So those were like the things that were like super, super big for me that I learned. Like, it was absolutely profound. And spending that time at the Hub Summit helped me so much that I'm going to book it for next year. And here's what I realized, right? So when I was thinking about opportunities I missed, I was really overwhelmed with redoing the squad and doing so many things. I didn't have a lot of opportunity to like set up for this, and I didn't really know what to expect because it had been 2 years since my last one. So I went to this one almost as like my experiment to see, okay, what am I going to do next year? Okay. So, oh my God, so amazing. So what I learned is one, I didn't do enough promotion in the Boutique Hub beforehand saying that I was going to be there and that I wanted people to come find me and ask me questions. So next year, I'm going to have a much more concerted effort to promote the fact that I'm going to be at the summit. I might even have a table there where people can come ask me questions anytime they want. I'm there to meet people and answer questions and help people with their businesses. And I feel like I didn't utilize that opportunity as well as I could have. And I know the things. The other thing is I also know the things that I talk about with people. Like whenever I talk to any business owners, we usually end up heading back to the same several spaces because most business owners are having the same issues. People were writing notes down frantically, and I was like, you know what, this doesn't work for them and it doesn't work for me. So because I want them to take notes, but I also want them to have all the information, so I want them to be able to hear. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to just have a page that then I am going to say, like, you know, go to this page, hub.manessa.com or something, and go there, and that page just will have everything that we're talking about, so you can listen to me, and then you can just go to the page and you'll find all the stuff that you need there, right? I think that'd be a much more effective use of time. I want to do some sort of booth or time thing where I do business page reviews where I'm like, okay, come between 2 and 5 and you submit your business page beforehand, and that way I just have all the information, and then I just have my computer and we'll sit together and I'll review your business page and other people can watch, and you know, it's really, really great. And I think it would be helpful for me to include my own business page review beforehand. Because during doing these business page reviews, I realized that a lot of people were hearing me just tear their pages down, not because like they were bad pages as much as it's like there was a lot of work that needed to be done to get people from stranger to checkout, right? But they didn't see the video of me doing the same thing to my own page. I have literally eviscerated my page and been like, this is terrible, nobody's gonna be lost, this is too many, like the whole thing, right? And so I want to be able to share that with people in advance so that they know that this is not just me picking apart people's pages. This is a thing we all have to do. It doesn't matter what level you're at. It doesn't matter if you're Target or if you're Manessa or if you're Amy Porterfield or if you have a small boutique, in a small town with 10 customers. It's the same for all of us. All right. So those were the things that for me, I realized that's what I want to do next year to make it a little bit better. And I think I actually want to have another extra day. I think I might go in a day earlier so I can have a rest day, then go to I think I didn't have that beforehand. So I think I might do that as well. So next year's summit's going to be even better. And it's really gotten I'm I'm chomping at the bit. Like I might actually do my own summit because I just love how awesome it was. I'm thinking of the people we could get. Like it's just such an amazing, exciting idea. Regardless of what your current view of summits are, the one thing that I want to recommend is that look through this year and see if there are any summits or events that you would like to attend. Is there anything in your area of expertise, right? So something like you're a boutique owner, boutique summit. If you are a coach, like if you're a social media coach, maybe it's a social media examiner summit. Maybe if you're a mindset coach, you want to go to a summit done by your mindset coach or someplace where your mindset coach is speaking at. But regardless of what it is, figure out what would fill your cup the most. I myself have signed up for some sex education summits because I'm really interested in that, like subset sex education classes. I signed up for this summit, and then I'm not sure, but I think for the rest of the year, I think I am going to sign up for a summit, but I think my next summit might be a human design summit or something that is more woo and esoteric, because I think I want to work in that space as well. So that's the direction that I'm going in for my next summit. You will want to pick your own, but be thoughtful about it and make sure that you're not going into debt to get there. But the most important thing that I can recommend to you is this. If you are not in a stage right now, okay, because this is something really important. A lot of times people feel like they need to be learn-it-alls and they need to learn all the things all the time. I am not that person. There's a time for learning and there's a time for implementation, okay? Time for learning, time for implementation, okay? Summits are great events that you can do some quick learning in a really quick period of time, even within an implementation time, right? So that's so for me, even I'm on an implementation mode right now, but a summit is like a 2-day thing that I can go learn a lot and come back. So it's really, really perfect, right? But don't feel like you have to, okay? So this is the most important thing I want to share with you. Yes, summits are great. Networking events are great. All of these things are great. However, if you are like, listen, this doesn't fit in with my budget right now, or this isn't right for my business right now, or it's just not right for me right now, whatever it is, do not make that decision and then go because you have FOMO, okay? It's really important that when you make that decision, write down why you're making that choice and then consider it a done deal that you are no longer revisiting it as a question, because otherwise it's going to be a hornet that consistently occupies space in your mind and is going to impact the results of the work that you're doing that has nothing to do with that, right? So now just the fact that you're thinking about it is making your work performance less. So that's the one thing that I want to recommend, is that if you decide not to go, there's no big deal. It's totally fine. Don't go. I don't go to a lot of summits. But make sure that you write down why you didn't go. Make sure that it's somewhere where you won't forget it, and then don't revisit it again because you already made this decision. Put it to the side, okay? Put it to the side. There's no need for you to be like, oh, shouldn't I? Because you're feeling FOMO. If something changes in your life or changes in your business, then maybe you'll decide you want to go. But it's not a good idea to go to an event because you have FOMO, because that's not something that you're doing to create progress in your business. That's you trying to scratch a dopamine itch, okay? And dopamine itches do not usually help grow your business. Alrighty, this has been such a wonderful time hanging out with you. I enjoyed sharing all of my stories about the Boutique Hub Summit. If you are a boutique owner, then I cannot recommend more that you go next year. I will be there next year. If you found this helpful, please get this into the feed of your friends and family members and share this podcast. And don't forget to head over to Apple, iTunes, or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave us a review, because that helps us get in the feeds of other people as well so that we can help other business owners make a ton of money without guilt. Bam. Okay, I think that end part I kind of screwed up because I was starting to get really hot. Like my hot flash, I was like, I'm literally so hot right now. Like I'm just like, oh my God, I need something to like, I was like seriously hot flashing so bad at the end. And I'm like, oh my God, I gotta stop this. I gotta stop because I can't do this right now. Oh my God, is anybody else having hot flashes? Oh my God. All right, I'm gonna see what I missed. Whew. All right, let me go to find the event. Where is it? There we go. I'm gonna go to the, oh, I didn't want to go to the dashboard. No, I didn't want to go to the dashboard. That's not where I wanted to go. This is going to the live stream. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's see what I missed. Okay. So, alrighty, wrapping up into the meeting, back home already. LaFern says, I love having a security person with me. Absolutely. Taking somebody with you to these events makes it so much easier, especially if you have anxiety. And it's also really great to because then like after each session, you can kind of like brainstorm and be like, okay, what did you like? What didn't you like? Or you can make choices to decide that one of you is going to go to one of you is going to go to the other. But I think there's a lot of ways in which you can tag team it and then also create more traction by, connecting later. It's like a lot of accountability afterwards. Love it. And it helps with anxiety, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So unsexy stuff is like setting up your email list. Unsexy stuff is setting up the tags, making sure that like you're, that you have a funnel, like a user journey that makes sense. You want to make sure that you know your keywords, you understand your target audience, like all of the fundamentals that we talk about in the squad. Those are all the unsexy things. Where you're making the cute graphic or having the fun event. That's usually what people consider to be the sexy things, and they love planning for those things. Dude, Christy, I actually thought about, I actually am thinking about having you come next year. I thought about having you come next year and like doing like a booth for us where we're doing business page reviews and like just having a couple people just do business page reviews all day. Hey, Peggy, good to see you, dude. Hi, Deb. Oh my God, so good to see you. Alrighty. Okay, I am back. Okay. I mean, it's so weird how this sometimes gives me two sets of comments. I'm in the doubt my ability phase and the victim role. I've realized both and working to process through and release. And you know what? Here's the thing. You know what the other thing that she taught that was really important? So Lori Harder has 3 businesses, and her third business right now it's a rosé business, and I think it's like a canned rosé type thing, so sort of just like a beer, but it's a rosé. Like, I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not really a rosé drinker, so I was just kind of like, that's what it is, kind of, right? But the launch has been delayed for like 2 years because of COVID and blah, blah, there's been a lot of stuff going on. And the thing that she was really articulate about this, and I don't say this enough, or maybe I say it like abstractly, so I want to actually just come right out and say it. These feelings that you have, LaFern, they don't ever go away, right? So like the feeling of I'm scared or I doubt myself or, you know, any of those things, they never go away. So we never end up in a space where we're just like, oh, they're gone. We just get the tools we need to make them not relevant, right? So it's like, I doubt my abilities, right? But so the thing that I tell myself now to just get myself going is, it doesn't matter whether you're actually gonna, you know, whether you're too big for your britches or not isn't really relevant. You still need to finish this video, right? So like, oh my God, I think I can change people's businesses. I think I can change their entire lives and revamp everything. Like, who am I to think that I'm that revolutionary? Like, I think I could be, you know, I definitely think that I could have the same kind of impact as Mel Robbins. Who the hell am I to say that, right? Well, I'll tell you something. I can guarantee to you I won't have the same impact as Mel Robbins or as Lisa Bayou if I don't finish that video, right? So like, it's not really relevant whether I'm going to have that impact or not. The video still needs to get finished, right? So for me, I try to focus on the task itself instead of the bigger picture. She was very clear about the fact you just get better tools and you know how to use them. So like before, whereas I would feel like, oh my God, I'm an imposter. I don't know what I'm doing. I could lose 3 weeks to that cycle. I could, you know, cry and feel miserable and just not do stuff and eat ice cream and just whatever, right? But now I'm like, oh, I feel like an imposter. Redirect to the, okay, you are an imposter, that's fine, but for right now, finish the video and deal with the imposter part later because the video still needs to get done or whatever. Like, that's the tool that ended up working for me, but I had to work through a whole bunch of tools to like figure out the ones that work for me. So, you know, one of the things to consider as you're working through this, LaFern, is to give yourself the freedom to know that like it's always just you and our behaviors being like these little cobwebs. You know, I call them like boats made of spider webs on a lake, a pond, lake, glassy, right? And if it's going in the wrong direction and you can see it is, right, you're like, oh, oops, I'm going in that direction. You just kind of lightly blow and push it in that right direction. So you know your tools, right? So for me, I know that I can go to my husband and be like, I'm having a moment right now. I need you to help me, and tell him exactly what I'm feeling. And he will be like, okay, like I'm worried about money or whatever, right? And he'll be like, okay, because it doesn't matter that I'm making money. I grew up with food and money insecurity. So that's going to come back. I'm still going to have those panicked moments, right? So for me in those moments, whether it's practical or not, it's not a rational fear. I need help and guidance to move my way out of it. And my husband can help with that. Katie can help with that. Jenna can help with that. My sister can help with that. Like, I have tools for a lot of different things. I have a psychiatrist. I have a therapist. I have a doctor. I have all these people and tools and resources that I can go to when I find myself in any of those spaces. So the key will be for you as you're working through this is just figuring out which direction, like when you're like, oh, here I am, I need to move here, this is the tool that I need, right? I'm here, I need this tool. And so the question you always want to ask yourself, this is the good question, is not what do I need, but who do I need? That's what she said. That's actually a really good thing. I should have actually brought that up. Who do I need? That's actually really, really good. Okay. So, Peggy, that's I think your issue. You don't want to implement ASAP, because what a lot of us do is we try to learn a little and implement ASAP. Implementation is an ongoing game. It's an ongoing situation. So what you're going to do is you're going to learn a little, implement a little, learn a little, implement a little, learn a little, implement a little, go back, fix something that was wrong in the first thing, and then, you know, go back and implement a little, and then make something different, and then go back and fix something else. Implementation is an ongoing process. What a lot of us think of is we think implementation is like, okay, I'm going to learn this, and I'm going to implement it, and then it's going to be done. Implementation itself is do the thing, test the thing, find the problems, go back and do the thing again, right? Update the thing, make the changes, test again, find the problem, go back, and you just do that over and over and over again until you've massaged out everything. It's kind of like when you iron something, right? So when you're ironing something, you iron it once, and then you look at it, and you're like, okay, I see there's a wrinkle there, there's a wrinkle there, there's a wrinkle there. You're not going to uniron the whole thing again. You're just going to be like, I'm going to fix that wrinkle and that wrinkle and that wrinkle. And then maybe when you're done, you go over it all once, just make sure everything looks good, right? And then you're done. So it's very much the same thing. So a lot of us think of it as like, I'm going to sit here and learn everything I need to learn about the iron. Okay. Now, while I'm learning about the iron, okay, I'm just going to put it as fast as I can. All right, let's implement it. And you pick it up, right? Well, if you do it that quickly, you're probably not going to iron anything super well, right? So now it's still wrinkly. And now you're sending people to school with wrinkly clothes, right? So what I want to recommend is get comfortable with that, Peggy, and that will help enormously, because then you'll just be less frustrated. Because ultimately, the solution to your problem is not to get better at implementing, because you're implementing fine. Your expectations of what implementation looks like, that needs work. Once you reframe how you look at implementation, you won't be frustrated and you'll be fine. And you will actually see more progress because you're less frustrated, because now you're more excited, because you know that with every time you do the testing, you're like, I'm learning something to make it better next time and better next time, more results, so on and so forth. I was flashing earlier. You were flashing earlier? Oh my God, Kristen, who are you flashing? Oh, flashing, hot flashes. Sorry. I was like, who are you flashing? Why are you telling me this? I forgot what I said like literally 5 seconds ago. Dude, I am so flashing. I am like, I just get like hot flashes so often. It's like, and so I'm sitting there talking and I'm like, oh my God. And actually I feel like I wanted to just be like, guys, I have to end this podcast. I'm flashing so bad right now. Oh, they're awful. They're awful. Rosé is a style of wine. I haven't tried it in a can yet. I could see that it would work. It's a single serving size and easy to travel with. Exactly. I'm in this process right now. So many things with starting a new business model for the ranch. Exactly. It's tough. You know, it's the testing. I think that was probably the best lesson that I learned when I had this epiphany when I was selling clothes. I remembered the investigators that I worked with, right? And that they would do an experiment and then they would test and then they'd see the results and then they'd test again and then they'd see the results. And I was like, oh. And I was like, oh, okay. And suddenly I realized why nothing I did worked, right? Or why it would work sometimes is because I would do one thing. Then it would either work or it wouldn't. And then if it didn't work, I would just drop it. And if it did work, I would just do it to death. So now I would do that same thing 4,000 times until I just beat the horse to death and now nobody was interested in it. So what happened, what I should have been doing is troubleshooting and trying to improve what I have, right? So what we ended up doing, to give you a practical example, is we figured out lives worked for us, right? So we did 2 lives a week, 3 lives a week, 4 lives a week, and now we're doing like 10 lives a week. We were live all the time. And we burned our customer base out, absolutely burned our customer base out because we were live too often. This is one of the many times that Sarah and I we've dropped, grown many times in our business. Like, just like, because we've like burned out our group and then had to start a new one and then did great, then burned out that group, started a new one, because we didn't know, right? But then as I started to pay attention to the way we were doing things, I was like, oh, I understand. It's the fact that we're doing it so often. So what we really need to do is go live less. That's the answer, not go live more. So we go live less and suddenly you start selling more. And we're like, okay, now I'm troubleshooting this problem. But when you're trying to speed through things just to get to the next thing, so that you can speed through that to get to the next thing, what are you actually doing? You're not actually building a business. You're just running. It's like you know what it's like? It's like Wile E. Coyote, like when he runs off the cliff, but usually get like 20 feet before he realizes like he's run off the cliff and then he'll fall down. That's kind of what it's like. You're running so fast that you don't realize you ran off the cliff and that you're standing in the air and you're just waiting to fall, right? But if you go slowly, you're like, oh, there's a cliff here. I'm going to build stairs down, right? And then you just build the stairs, you'll get down just fine. But if you're running so fast, you're just going to topple over and crash just like Wile E. Coyote. I bought in a friend to help me with posts and other things, which has helped with frustration so much. Great thing. She's helping me more and more. Oh, that's so wonderful. I'm so glad to hear it. All right. So guys, if you need help with what to post, how to post, when to post, any of those kinds of things, or growing your business, I want to recommend that you get on the wait list for the Social Strategy Squad. We're going to open on my birthday, but you want to get on the wait list anyway. My birthday is May 31st, because the next 2 months, we're going to be launching so much stuff. Really fun stuff. My favorite thing that we're launching is my boundaries. It's boundaries done for you, which is basically a document that has no scripts in it, which basically gives you a list of ways to say no. Say no to family members, tell people you don't want to talk about politics, turn down a refund offer, like deal with a difficult customer, you name it. I have got scripts for literally everything in there, and I am adding more and more and more. So we have that coming. We have the Hustle Proof Your Life freebie coming. We've revamping the website. There's so much fun stuff coming in the next like 2 months. So definitely get on the waiting list, because even if you're like, listen, I don't want to wait 2 months for this, you can still sign up for so many other fun things. Plus, you'll get my notification about the Social Strategy Squad. Alrighty, so I will see you guys. Oh, remember, no S&M show today. Syra has something to deal with in her family, so no S&M show today. And I'm going to see the squad members on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern.